Handbook for Mankind Buddhadasa Bhikku Buddhadasa Bhikku Upskill English to multiply mindfulness เราจะอ่านหนังสือคู่มือมนุษย์เป็นภาษาอังกฤษรอบที่2หนังสือของท่านพุทธทาสอ่านเพื่อฝึกฝนเรียนรู้อ่านถูกต้องก็ very good อ่านผิดก็เรียนรู้ปรับปรุงแล้วก็ฝึกฝนต่อไปHandbook for Mankind The Handbook for Mankind หนังสือคู่มือมนุษย์ Content สารบัญ Forward คำนำ About the translator Looking at Buddhism The true nature of things 3 universal characteristics grasping and clinging grasping and clinging grasping and clinging the threefold training the things we cling to insight by the nature method insight by organized training the 7 purifications etc. Emancipation from the world อาจจะมีบางคำที่อ่านไม่ได้ถูกต้อง 100% นะแต่ก็ถ้าส่วนตัวสงสัยหรือว่าขยันหน่อยก็จะไปตรวจสอบอีกทีนึงถ้าไม่ได้ขยันก็อ่านไปเลยแล้วมาดูอีกทีถ้าผิดก็ค่อยถ้าไม่แน่ใจก็ค่อยไปเปิดทีนึง Forward คำนำ In 1956 the Venerable Buddhadasa Bhikku gave a series of lectures to a group of prospective judges, which were subsequently edited and arranged into what became the Handbook for Mankind. Since then, the success of this small book has been astounding. Well over 100,000 copies have been printed in time, and the book still enjoys widespread popularity more than 3 decades after the original talks. The reason for the handbook's endurance is clear. That the Venerable Buddhadasa offers fresh insight into a timeless truth Dhamma ความจริงเหนือการเวลาก็คือธรรมะอันนี้เดี๋ยวพรุ่งนี้ส่งไปแชร์เป็นเรื่อง in the direct and simple manner that characterizes all his teaching. The clarity of his insight brings the Dhamma to life, so that today a new generation of readers, not yet born at the time of these talks, can find meaning in his words. As a guide for newcomers to the Buddha Dhamma, the truth which the Buddha awakened to and subsequently taught. This book is an invaluable guide. In it are contained the essential teachings of Buddhism. The handbook is especially useful for those who approach the Buddha's teaching not as a subject for scholarly study, but as a means to understand and enable their lives. The Handbook for Mankind are originally published in English by the Sublime Life Mission, but has long been out of print. With their permission, we have reprinted this book, making some corrections were necessary, but leaving the text otherwise intact. Our thanks are due to Mr. Pan Dongprasad, who first put the book together in time, and to all the people whose effort has made possible the reprinting of this book. About the translator เกี่ยวกับผู้แปลนะมีคนแปลจากภาษาไทยเป็นภาษาอังกฤษ Rod Bucknell first became seriously interested in Buddhism in the mid-1960s. During a visit to Thailand, he was introduced to the techniques of insight meditation. After spending a year in various Thai meditation centers and monasteries. ถ้าคำไหนที่เราไม่แน่ใจเราอ่านตามตัวไปก่อนนะแต่บางทีภาษาอังกฤษมันไม่ได้อ่านตามตัวหรอกมันไม่เหมือนภาษาเยอรมันบางทีการ accent มันก็ทำให้ความหมายมันเปลี่ยนไปอย่างส่วนตัวจะเรียนแบบธรรมดาไม่ได้เราไม่ได้เรียน accent มาตั้งแต่ต้นแต่เราเรียนตามดีนั่นแหละแล้วก็บางคำถ้ามันเป็นคำใหม่เราก็จะไม่มั่นใจนะมันก็จะอ่านอีกแบบนึงไปเลยก็ได้ He took ordination as a bhikkhu monk under the guidance of Ajahn Pan น่าจะปัญญานันทะนะปัญญานันทะ of วัดชนประทานรังสิต He soon became interested also in the teachings of Ajahn Buddhadasa and recognizing their potential value to Westerners, began translating some of the Ajahns more important works into English. During the 4 years he spent in the Sangha. During the 4 years he spent in the Sangha, he translated altogether 6 works of varying length, usually in close consultation with the Ajahn in order to ensure accuracy in the rendering of key concepts. Despite his return to lay life, he maintains a close interest, both scholarly and practical, in Ajahn Buddhadasa's teachings, and has published several related articles in religious studies journals. He is currently a lecturer in the Department of Studies in Religion at the University of Queensland, Australia. Looking at Buddhism. 1. If we open any recent book on the origins of religion, we found that there is one point on which all authors are in agreement. They all agree in saying that religion arose in the world out of fear. Primitive forest dwelling man fear thunder and lightning, darkness and storms, and various things about him that he was unable to understand or control. His method of avoiding the danger he saw in this phenomenon was to demonstrate either humility and submission or homage and reverence, depending on which he felt was most appropriate. Later, as man's knowledge and understanding developed, this fear of the forces of nature changed into a fear of phenomena more difficult to apprehend. Religions based on difference to objects of fear such as natural phenomena, spirits and celestial beings. Upadika came to be looked down upon upon as unreasonable and ridiculous, and then man's fear became still more refined into fear of suffering, suffering of the sort that cannot be alleviated by any material means. He came to fear the suffering inherent in birth, aging, pain, and death, เกิดแก่เจ็บตาย the disappointment and hopelessness which arise out of desire, anger, and stupidity, which no amount of power or will can relieve. Long ago in India, a country well provided with thinkers and investigators, intelligent people, dispensed with all paying of homage to supernatural beings and started seeking instead the means of conquering birth, aging, pain, and death, the means of eliminating greed, hatred, and delusion. Out of this search arose Buddhism, a higher religion based on insight, a means of conquering birth, aging, pain, and death, a method for destroying the mental defilements. Buddhism has its origins in fear of this lifetime, just as do all religions based on intelligence. The Buddha discovered how to conquer absolutely what man fears. He discovered a practical method now called Buddhism for eliminating suffering. Buddhism means the teaching of the enlightened one. A Buddha is an enlightened individual, one who knows the truth about all things, one who knows just what is what, and so is capable of behaving appropriately with respect to all things. Buddhism is a religion based on intelligence, science, and knowledge, whose purpose is the destruction of suffering and the sort of suffering, all paying of homage to เนี่ยคำนี้ศักดิ์สิทธิ์เนี่ยเจอบ่อยอ่านปุ๊บเปิดบ่อยเลยนะครับอ่านจำไม่ได้ ว่าศักดิ์สิทธิ์นะศักดิ์สิทธิ์ sacred แล้วก็ไปเปิดทีนึง sacred objects to means of performing rites and rituals, making offerings or paying is not Buddhism. The Buddha rejected all of this as foolish พวกเนี่ยพวก sacred objects mean right ritual. The Buddha rejected all of this as foolish, ridiculous, and unsound. He also rejected the celestial beings. Celestial beings, then considered by certain groups to be the creators of things, and deities support to dwell. One in each star in the sky. Thus we find that the Buddha made such statements as these. Knowledge, skill, and ability are conducive to success and benefit, and are auspicious omens, good in their own right, regardless of the movements of the heavenly bodies. With the benefits gained from these qualities, one will completely outstrip those foolish people who just sit making their astrological calculations. And if the water in rivers such as theแม่น้ำอะไรนะแม่น้ำคงคาแม่น้ำคงคา Ganges just as Ganges could really wash away sins and suffering, then the turtles, crabs, fish, and shellfish living in those sacred เปิดหลายครั้งมาก sacred rivers out by secret out by those sacred rivers ought by now to be free of their sins and sufferings too. ถ้าแม่น้ำศักดิ์สิทธิ์จริงนะก็ต้องล้างบาปกรรมให้กับพวกหอยปูปลาเต่าสิ่งมีชีวิตทั้งหลายในแม่น้ำนั้นได้ใช่ไหมแต่ว่าในทางพุทธไม่ได้เชื่ออย่างนั้น and if a man could eliminate suffering by making offerings, paying homage, and praying, there would be no one subject to suffering left in the world นะถ้าเรากระจัดความทุกข์ได้จากการให้การขอการอะไรเนี่ยเพราะฉะนั้นทุกคนหรือการบนบานสารกล่าวการสวดอ้อนวอนนะทุกคนก็ไม่มีความทุกข์เลยได้เพราะฉะนั้นจริงๆพระพุทธเจ้าท่านสอนให้พึ่งตัวเองนะถ้าเราจะทำอะไรให้ได้สักอย่างต้องพึ่งตัวเองท่านไม่ได้สอนให้อ้อนวอนขอ แต่สิ่งที่ทำได้ก็คือทำให้จิตเรามันนิ่งเพื่อที่เราจะสามารถทำงานหรือทำอะไรได้อย่างมีสติสมาธิแต่ผลเราต้องยอมรับถึงผลลัพธ์ที่จะตามมาด้วยนะคือเป็นอุเบกขากับผลนั่นเองทำแล้วก็อุเบกขากับผลลัพธ์นี่ but since people are still object to suffering while in the very act of making obeisances เกี่ยวกับพวกความเคารพนั่นถึงมันจะ obey นะ obeisances paying homage and performing rites. This is clearly not the way to gain liberation. ก็ชัดเจนว่าการอ้อนวอนขอเนี่ยไม่ใช่ทางที่จะหลุดพ้นนั่นเอง To attain liberation, we first have to examine things closely in order to come to know and understand their true nature. เราจะต้องลงมือทำด้วยตัวเองให้รู้ Then we have to behave in a way appropriate to that true nature. This is the Buddhist teaching. นี่คือคำสอนที่แท้จริงเนี่ยก็ต้องมีอัตหิอัตโนนาโถตนไม่ได้เพื่อเห็นตน Then we have to behave. This is the Buddhist teaching. This we must know and bear in mind. นี่เราต้องรู้แล้วก็จดจำ Buddhism has nothing to do with prostrating oneself and deferring to awesome things. It sets no store by rites and ceremonies such as making libations of holy water or any external whatsoever, spirits and celestial beings included. On the contrary, it depends on the reason and insight. Buddhism does not demand conjecture or supposition. It demands that we act in accordance with what our own insight reveals and not take anyone else's word for anything. แล้วเราก็ทำตามสิ่งที่เราได้ศึกษาเรียนรู้แล้วก็ไม่ต้องไปทำตามคำพูดของใครหรือสิ่งที่เราได้ปฏิบัติหรือศึกษาเรียนรู้เนี่ยเราไม่ต้องไปเอาคำพูดของใครมา If someone comes and tells us something, we must not believe him without question. ถ้ามีใครมาบอกเราบางอย่างใช่ไหมเพราะนั้นเราต้องไม่เชื่อโดยไม่มีข้อสงสัย We must listen to his statement and examine it. เราก็ต้องฟังแล้วก็ฟังคำพูดของเขาแล้วก็ตรวจสอบด้วย Then if we find it reasonable, we may accept it provisionally and set about trying to verify it for ourselves. แล้วก็ ถ้ามันมีเหตุผลเราก็ยอมรับแล้วก็แต่ว่าเราก็ต้องพยายามที่จะตรวจสอบด้วยตัวเองค่ะ This is a key feature of Buddhism นี่คือหลักแก่นของพุทธศาสนา which distinguishes it sharply from other world religions. Distinguish การทำความเข้าใจให้ลึกซึ้ง Now religion is a many-sided thing seen from one angle. It has a certain appearance seen from another angle. มันก็มีหลายแง่หลายมุมในเหลี่ยมศาสนามันก็จะมีหลายเหลี่ยมเลยหลายมุมหลายเหลี่ยม It has another. Many people look at religion from the wrong angle, and Buddhism is no exception. Different individuals looking at Buddhism with different mental attitudes are bound to get different views of it, because each of us naturally has confidence in his own opinions. Truth for each of us coincides with our own particular understanding and point of view. Consequently, truth is not quite the same thing for different people. They all penetrate questions to varying depths by varying methods and with varying degrees of intelligence. A person does not recognize as true, according to his own ideas of the truth, anything that lies beyond his own intelligence, knowledge, and understanding. And even though he may outwardly go along with other people's ideas as to what is the truth, he knows in himself that it is not the truth as he himself sees it. Each person's conception of the truth may change and develop with the day by day increase in his degree of intelligence, knowledge, and understanding, until such time as he arrives at the ultimate truth. And each of us has different ways of examining and testing before believing. ก่อนที่เราจะเชื่อเราก็ต้องทดสอบนะด้วยตัวเองก่อน So if Buddhism is viewed with differing degrees of intelligence, differing pictures of it will be seen simply because it can be viewed from any aspect. As we have said, Buddhism is a practical method for liberating oneself from suffering by means of coming to realize, as did the Buddha himself, the true nature of things. Now any religious text is bound to contain material which later people have found occasion to add to. And our Tripitaka, is no exception. People in later ages have added sections based on their current ideas, either in order to boost people's confidence or out of excessive religious zeal. Regrettably, even the rites and rituals which have developed and become mixed in with the religion and are now accepted and recognized as Buddhism proper. Ceremonies such as getting up trays of sweets and food as offering to the soul of the Buddha, in the same way as food is offered to monks that do not fit in with Buddhist principle. การถวายข้าวพระพุทธอย่างเงี้ยมันไม่ใช่แก่นของศาสนาพุทธมันไม่ใช่แก่นของศาสนา Yet some groups consider this to be genuine Buddhist practice, teaching it as such and keeping to it very strictly. Rites and ceremonies of this kind have become so numerous that they now completely obscure the real Buddhism and its original purpose. Take, for example, the procedures of becoming ordained a monk. There has come into existence the ceremony of making gifts to the newly ordained bhikkhu. Guests are invited to bring food and to watch proceedings, and as a result, there is much drunkenness and noise. Ceremonies are performed both at the temple and in the home. The new bhikkhu later leaves the order again only few days after having been ordained, and may become an even stronger temple hater than he was before. It must be borne in mind that the born in mind that there was none of this at the time of the Buddha. It is a later development. Ordination at the time of the Buddha meant simply ordination at the time of the Buddha meant simply that some individual who had obtained his parents' consent renounced home and family. He was a person who was able to cross a couch at home, go off to join the Buddha and the order of bhikkhus. On some convenient occasion, he would go and be ordained, and perhaps not see his parents from family again for the rest of his life. Though some bhikkhus might go back to visit their parents again on suitable occasions, this was rare. There does exist a rule permitting a bhikkhu to go home when there is a good reason for doing so. But at the time of the Buddha, this was not the done thing. Bhikkhus did not receive ordination with their parents in attendance, nor did they celebrate the event as a great occasion, only to leave the Sangha again after just a few days. The better off than at first, as commonly happens in the present day. All this presenting of gifts to newly ordained bhikkhus, this performing of ceremonies, including all sorts of celebration, this we are foolish enough to call Buddhism. Furthermore, we choose to make much of it, thinking nothing of spending all our own money or other people's on account of it. This Neo-Buddhism is so widespread to be almost universal. The Dhamma, the genuine teaching that once was ʻprɪmətɪv, has become so overlaid by ceremonial that the whole objective of Buddhism has been obscured, falsified, and changed until page number 10. วันต่อไปก็จะมาอ่านเริ่มจากประโยคนี้แหละ This Neo-Buddhism is Neo-Buddhism. Sentence of the day. มันจะอะไร Sentence of the day เนี่ยสิ่งเป็นไก่ใช่ This we are foolish enough to call Buddhism. Sentence of the day. With the benefits gained from these qualities, one will completely outstrip those foolish people making possible. Sentence of the day. If the water in the river, such as the Ganges, could really wash away sins and suffering, then the turtles, crabs, fish, and shellfish living in those sacred rivers ought by now to be free of them sins and suffering ถ้าหากแม่น้ำศักดิ์สิทธิ์จริงก็คงจะต้องแม่น้ำนั้นก็คงจะทำการล้างบาปกรรมความทุกข์ทรมานของสัตว์กุ้งหอยปูปลาที่อยู่ในแม่น้ำนั้นได้เพราะฉะนั้นแก่นของพุทธก็จะไม่เชื่อในเรื่องน้ำศักดิ์สิทธิ์นั่นเองหรืออะไรศักดิ์สิทธิ์เพราะฉะนั้นแก่นของพุทธก็คืออัตถิอัตโนนาโถตนเป็นที่พึ่งแห่งตนไม่มีใครช่วยให้เราพ้นทุกข์ได้นอกจากตัวเราเองแต่ถ้าเรามีหลักตามแนวทางที่ถูกต้องตามหลักของพระพุทธเจ้าแล้วก็เดินไปตามนั้นตัวเราเองก็จะรู้ตัวเราที่สุดว่าเราพ้นทุกข์ได้เรามีสติเพียงพอที่จะรับรู้สุขทุกข์ที่อยู่ภายในของเราได้Have a good night